First of all, any war that could happen in this region will be a protracted war. That's what a lot of observers predict. When it comes to protracted war, you need to have a robust defense industrial capacity from peace times. Which means that these arms exports will help the Filipinos also develop their own defense capabilities. But I think a lot so a lot of countries like Philippines and Australia actually welcoming Japan's lifting of this ban. However, like when it comes to like countries like China, they might see this as something that might raise tensions in the region. Right. Actually, the thing is, when it comes to like arm exports, this has been a combination since gradual lifting of bans on arm exports since 2014. Actually, initially in 2014, Japan lifted bans on non-lethal weaponry. So what's different this time around is that, this actually lifts technically all bans for Japan. But when it comes to why this is happening right now, so first of all, the strategic environment here in the Western Pacific has been deteriorating, and that has led to Japan's decision to export arms, basically for just two reasons. First of all, any war that could happen in this region will be a protracted war. That's what a lot of observers predict. When it comes to protracted war, you need to have a robust defense industrial capacity from peacetime. So basically, by diversifying its own defense industrial markets, by exporting arms, that will actually help Japan develop its own defense industrial capacity from peacetime. That's one thing to prepare for a protracted war if that ever happens. Another important part here is that Japan is trying to consolidate its partnership with regional partners such as the Philippines and Australia. So these countries, especially for the Philippines, the Filipinos is a country in the first island chain, just like Japan, which means that these arms exports will help the Filipinos also develop their own defense capabilities, which will be crucial for regional deterrence. And also for Australia, it's another important like-minded country for Japan. Actually, Japan signed a contract for the Australians on exporting upgraded Mogami class frigates, which is another significant sort of deal when it comes, which comes in hand with these arms export deals. And but I think a lot of countries, like Philippines and Australia, actually welcoming Japan's lifting of this ban. However, like when it comes to like countries like China, they might see this as something that might raise tensions in the region. So that is also one thing that's it's actually a flip of a point for a lot of U.S. allies, like my partners. This is a welcoming development that will actually help strengthen those partnerships and also bolster self-reliance among them. But when it comes to China, they will see this with alarm. Right. This was announced just today, so it's really hard to tell what the domestic reaction will be at this point. But I would argue that a lot of these defense exports, including the Mogami class frigates that were the contracts were signed just over a weekend, there has been a lot of these developments in the past 5 years, which means that it's not actually a big news when it comes to Japan actually expanding its defense exports. So I would say that I would also add that compared to 2014, when Japan first lifted bans towards non-lethal weaponry systems capabilities, Japan has been upgrading its own military capabilities, and Japan has been living in a deterrent strategic environment, which means that the public has been aware that Japan needs to step up to do more for regional security and also for its own defense, which means that I would argue in general that this will have less backlash compared to back in 2014 or 15, when Japan was still, the pacifism was still something that really permeated through the Japanese public.